So mine's going to be very innocent, although I think I dated your guy. I think I ran into him. But this is the story of my first date. I was 15 and a sophomore in high school, and I know it'll be a shock to you, but I was kind of geeky, kind of a loner, kind of an introvert. And there was a boy in my class who was pretty much the same. And one day he showed up at my doorstep because my father, for some reason, decided that our phone number should be unlisted. And luckily he persevered. Perhaps he stalked me to find out where I lived. I don't want to think about it now. But he asked me if I would go out with him. And why not? So we went to see, this was the 70s gang, we went to see The Who's Tommy in the movie theater. Whoa, yeah. And I thought that was pretty cool because I think I was the last one in my class to have seen it. And so we went, accompanied by his mom, who drove us. She did not go into the theater, as I recall, but she waited outside probably. And when we went out to eat after at Burger King, she came in with us, but she had the good grace to sit over on the other side of the restaurant and yell at the people behind the counter to bring her some more saccharin for her coffee, damn it. So that was our first date. I liked him. His name was Paul. We, apart from being introverts, we had quite a bit in common. We had the same sort of sense of humor. So we talked a lot on the phone, and we went on a few other dates. My most memorable of those was the night that he took me with him to collect for his paper route. Went door to door with him, and I don't know, perhaps I helped maximize his tips, either that, yeah, you go lawyer, oh, I'm so sorry, here, maybe you'll find someone better. But we took the proceeds from that and went and had a pizza. And the other memorable time with Paul was actually a threesome. A friend of his who had just moved back to the area, who was also our age, was over at his house, and I was there too, in his bedroom, all quite innocent, I assure you. We were listening to records. Do I need to explain that to this crowd? No, I don't think so. You know what they are. It was the 70s, all right? So we were listening to records, sitting in there, and part of my brain is going, I'm here alone with two boys. This could get interesting. The other part of my brain is like, get real, Sandra. That's not going to happen. Look at them. But it was interesting listening to records. I like music. Only these two teenage boys, being teenage boys in the 70s, had a different taste than I did in music. They put on a Kraftwerk album. Don't know if you're familiar with this. I was. They had one hit on the radio, which I can't remember, which was Interminable and electronic and just so not John Denver or whatever was in vogue. But I was like, okay, and we were two boys. This could still get interesting. I'll listen to this record. And so I listened to this electronic noise politely and listened, and the guys were into it. They're nodding along. I'm like, really? You don't have to pretend for me. I'm not, if you don't like it, we can change the record. But they were into it. They were listening. And I was just about ready to say something like, maybe we could put on some Elton John. When they both, at the same time, right on cue, right on beat, started singing along with Kraftwerk. Zump, 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 zump. They were into it, and I was like, okay, good for you guys. So nothing else happened other than that, but I still get a little smile now whenever I hear Kraftwerk or hear the name. Zump, zump, zump. The only other time, the only other memorable thing about Paul from those days was we were both such geeks, we were ashamed to admit that we knew each other. We would spend hours on the phone after school, after spending the whole day at school, not even looking at each other, not even acknowledging each other's presence. That's how geeky we were. But he was a good friend, and he always wanted to get a kiss from me, and I could never quite do it because I didn't really feel for him that way, unfortunately. And eventually, as such teen romances do, I'm going to say petered out, but not the way that, not in any bad way. It just sort of ended, okay? No Peters came out at any point. And we still had a few more years of high school, and we still pretty much didn't talk at school. We didn't talk on the phone, and eventually we just became benign strangers and drifted apart. And a few years ago, through the magic of Facebook, we connected again. I don't remember who made the first move, but one of the first things I said to him online was, "I'm sorry things were really awkward back then. I hope everything's okay for you now." And he was just about to get married, so I think things are going pretty well for him. And they did for a while until he was diagnosed with cancer. And he actually passed away just a few weeks ago, which is, I guess, why he's fresh in my mind. So he may have never had a kiss from me, but he was my first date, and I think he'll always have a little piece of my heart. So